So we got wind of the fact that Passage Pictures were going to make a film. So this is a Hollywood production outfit, and they're going to make a film, Sands of Fortune. So it's going to be about the Saudi Arabia oil discovery, the Dammam well. And we thought that'd be a good subject for a video, and bound to be lots of people looking for Sands of Fortune in the future. Well, you've found a great link, because we're going to give you the true history of what really happened as opposed to the Hollywood version.
The Sands of Fortune. We're going to look at the facts behind the film. Today we're located in Saudi Arabia. We saw that Yuri Singer was about to produce a film with his company Passage Pictures, and it's a new feature film entitled The Sands of Fortune. It's going to be delving into the story of the discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia, and indeed the birth of the country's oil and gas industry, and of course the giant Aramco. Now, the historic drama revolves around the true story of a partnership between the American geologist Max Steineke and the Bedouin Khamis bin Rimthan, who are credited with discovering the country's first oil well in 1938, and it's known as Dammam No. 7. But let's start by having a look at Saudi Arabia today. Well, Saudi Arabia kind of is a desert landscape here, and this is near Riyadh in Saudi, the capital of Saudi Arabia. The kingdom was actually established in 1932, and at that sort of time, the economy was dominantly supported by the religious pilgrimages to Mecca, the Hajj. Today, well, oil accounts for about 90% of the economy and 17% of the world's proven petroleum reserves. Now, here's a map of Saudi Arabia, and if we zoom in a little bit, Dammam is located northeast of the giant Ghawar oil field. We've done a video on that, and we'll put a link in the description below. But here's the location of Dammam. Now, I had hoped to use Google Earth to actually show the feature of the Dammam Dome, but the area's been developed. We've got airports, we've got refineries, we've even got major cities here in the region, so very, very difficult to pick that out, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So let's take a look at Saudi Arabia's production contribution. Here's global oil production, and this is from the Energy Institute. You can see in grey the global production profile, but here in orange you can actually see we've highlighted Saudi Arabia, so it makes up a significant proportion. And if you look at Saudi Arabia, indeed the other Middle East contributing nations, you can see it makes up a significant proportion of global production. So here's Saudi Arabia's production profile in a little bit more detail, and you can see from 1965 it basically went to it increased up until 1979, the oil crisis. Then it crashed on down through the 80s, but from really the early 90s right up until sort of 2019, there was just a steady increase in the volumes that Saudi Arabia was producing. Now we can see a little downturn there. That's associated with the COVID pandemic. So let's take a look at Aramco today, and we'll have a look at this short video.
Since the discovery of oil in 1938, Saudi Arabia has become the world's leading oil producer. Saudi Aramco, the state-owned oil company, has continuously mapped and explored the kingdom, discovering and developing over 130 oil fields.
Well, there's a short clip from the Aramco YouTube. Well, in the video, I think it stated that Saudi Arabia is the largest. I think it's vying with the US to be the largest producer of oil today. But let's look back and see, how did it all start? If we look back at the discovery of oil, it was actually two American geologists who were out there searching the desert. Now, I'm not sure if these are going to feature in the film, but Robert Miller and Shiloh Henry, they were two people who were roaming around and trying to understand the geology, and they identified a promising site which they named the Dammam Dome. The initial work was carried out in 1933 when basically the oil license or the concession was agreed and signed with the Saudi authorities. There were numerous camps set up and expeditions of explorers using camels and very, very simple tools. They took lots and lots of rock samples And that was mapped the region. We'll have a look at that in a little more detail. Here's a picture of Max Steineke. He was in charge of operations in 1938, and very enthusiastic geologist, and he's given credit for the discovery. Now, as we saw earlier from the Google Earth aerial shot, that we couldn't really see what's going on because there's been lots of build-ups and airports and also refineries and the like in the region of Dammam. But here's an example looking across the Persian Gulf, and we look here at Iran. And these are some of the elongate surface anticlines that we can see here. Now, if we look at this particular one down here, you can see that the drainage patterns are all radial away from a high. So when it rains on these jebels, they would actually drain away into the wadis nearby. And this is essentially the expression of the underlying geology. So it's been folded up, and in fact it's been stretched, in this case here in Iran, in a northwest southeast direction. So these are elongate anticlinal features, and basically when you drill on these, around about 60% of them turn out to have structures at depth which have been filled with oil. So in the early days, finding oil was a huge challenge, but these were some of the clues that there might be a structure, a geological structure at depth to actually go for. Now, in the case of Dammam, well, the Dammam well spotted in 1935, and in fact there were 6 penetrations, but they only found shows of oil and gas, but nothing substantial. And then in December 1936, the Dammam 7 well was drilled. On New Year's Eve 1937, there was a blowout, and here's actually a picture. The derrick, the drilling rig is all gone, and here's parts of it here. It's collapsed, fallen on its side. And here's a roaring fire here with all this thick black smoke, which is indicative of oil burning. And you can see here's some workers here trying to get close, but somehow you've got to try and cap and extinguish this fire. Now, the well was tested in March 1938, and it flowed at 1,585 barrels of oil per day. It's considered, or it is, Saudi Arabia's first commercial discovery. It was around about 1,440 meters, and the oil was a 34-35, a nice mid-range crude oil. This is the beginning of the oil era, and in fact the Dammam 7 well went on to produce for over 50 years. So if you have a look at the geology, and in this case here, the stratigraphy. Now this is generalized stratigraphy, so we don't know if this is exactly what there is at the Dammam location, but you can see we come down here through the Tertiary, through the Cretaceous, through the early Cretaceous. Not a lot of it is actually limestones and dolomites, carbonates. We get then through sort of the Hith evaporites here at the very, very top of the Upper Jurassic, and finally we go into the Arab Formation. So lots of limestones. The Arab Formation is Upper Jurassic in age, and this is where the oil is located in the Dammam oil field. Here is the structure at Dammam shown in this 3D projection here. You can actually see here's the seismic highlighted on this particular fault plane. It is a faulted anticline, and you can see this was the map that was generated, and it's an old map that was produced at the time. Now we talk about an anticline, and really it's this basically the Earth's crust has been folded here. You can see here's the coast in this region here. We come on shore. This is where the Dammam number 7 well was drilled on a jebel, or known as a hill, and we can see that it's missed most of the Tertiary, drilled on through the Cretaceous into the Jurassic, and this is the Arab formation here. Now the Hith, I call them evaporites, but very often they are where salt water has actually evaporated and left behind just a deposit of the salt. Here it's kind of an anhydrite, and an oil and gas has migrated in here and filled this feature here. So it is a very, very simple feature, but There's the surface expression of this anticline. So, what you can see is that you get younger rocks off on either side and older rocks exposed in the middle. So if we look at Dammam 7, this is the TROVE database. This is our entry for Dammam 7. Let's have a look in a bit more detail here. So within our TROVE database, you can see this is where we get the information from here. Here's this diagram here, and we've got more detail on that map shown. It's captured over here. If we move on down, we can see this is where we're getting the information from. Verified, very numerous sources shown here. Here's a map of the surface geology in and around the Dammam Dome, and that's where the cross-section came from. So in all, lots and lots of information, tables and numbers, lots of material here for anybody who wants to study Dammam in greater detail. So let's now go on and have a look at Aramco. Now, this is their headquarters, and they chose Dammam as the site for their headquarters. Very, very large building here. Now, the history of the company, it started out as a precursor to Chevron. It was on the breakup of Standard Oil Company, Rockefeller's empire. Standard Oil of California became known as SoCal, and they signed a license agreement or a concession agreement with Saudi Arabia back in 1933. Now, it was a subsidiary, the California Arabian Standard Oil Company, or CASOC, which was on the license here, created to manage this agreement. It later changed its name and it became the Arabian American Oil Company. And then in the 70s, when the oil crash happened and the Saudi government decided to increasingly take ownership of the assets, the oil assets in the nation, things moved, and in 1988 Saudi Aramco was named, and today it's known as Aramco. It's the world's largest oil company based on daily production of 13.6 million barrels of oil per day. Now that's according to Statista. Now it's actually more than I believe that Saudi Arabia is producing at the minute, so it must include some overseas input as well. The name Dammam 7 lives on, and it lives on in this supercomputer.
Like never before, we need to see and understand more of the subsurface world we work in. To do this, Saudi Aramco and STC have partnered together to deploy one of the 10 most powerful computers in the world. Dammam 7, named after the first commercial field that transformed the kingdom.
So there you have it. The name of the well lives on, even though it's no longer producing. But Dammam is not just the location of the oil field in the immediate area. Here's the Ras Tanura. This was formerly the largest oil refinery in the world. You can see it's absolutely massive. And here it is. Here's Dammam, and this is the refinery just up to the north. It's only that's just 4 miles, that particular scale bar. So lots and lots of developments in the immediate area around the discovered oil and gas. So what have we learned today? Well, it's a great story, and let's looking forward to seeing what Hollywood make of it. It very nearly didn't happen. I mean, 6 unsuccessful attempts to drill it to Dammam. It took a perseverance, and it was only the number 7, the 7th well that actually found oil. We don't know when the Hollywood blockbuster is going to be released, but watch this space. We'll bring news in a future video. There's been a huge impact on the back of the discovery, and it really did transform the world. You can find out lots of information, technical data galore, lots of sources for every field in the Middle East. In fact, every field in the world is in TROVE. And if Hollywood get in touch, well, I'm going to be happy for Tom Hanks to co-star with me. So I'll be standing by my phone waiting.
Well, there you have it, the Sands of Fortune. We've been on to the Passage Pictures website. Absolutely no mention whatsoever of when the film might be made or might be coming out. But we'll see if it transpires in the future. For now, hope you enjoyed watching the channel, and please come back and visit for more information. Bye for now.
Thanks ever so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, ring the bell if you want to be reminded and told when we've released a new video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye for now.